Look, through the night, we'll power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wow! Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? You're looking absolutely lovely, can I just say? As are you, my good man. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great to have you as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Absolutely tremendous to be here on such a massive day in British history. Hello and welcome to a very special Patrick Christys tonight with that live studio audience for a special show to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Doesn't that just warm your heart and make you proud to be British? We will be live in Kilkeel in Northern Ireland as well with our reporter Doogie Beattie, who's going to be marking the occasion. There he is.
We are live. Thousands line the streets in Kilkeel to see the celebrity tattoo. Those events are coming to an end in the street. We're moving down to the Esplanade, where we will see a 21-gun salute and a fireworks display. It's all happening in County Down.
Yes, it is. I absolutely cannot wait to see that. I know my live studio audience can't either. And I have got this wonderful audience tonight who is going to be a mixture of veterans. There's quite a few military medals knocking around. We've got a Union Jack waistcoat there and a lot of regalia, so I'm looking forward to getting to know them all a little bit better. But I think it's probably time I introduce my wonderful panel. We've got Daily Express columnist and fan favourite. It's Carol Malone, everybody. We've got former Tory MP Bob Seeley, who served in Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya, and we've also... Oh, no, give him an applause. Yes, there we go. I thought that was one more country that you'd served in there for a second, but it's not. And it's Benjamin Butterworth, who is patriotic as anything, yes. All right, well, get ready, Britain. Here we go. It's time to put British heroes first. Next.
Thank you very much. The top stories. The royal family watched a fly past from the balcony of Buckingham Palace to mark the start of 4 days of celebrations for the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Thousands gathered in front of the palace and on the Mall as the Red Arrows and other RAF planes flew over. The King and Queen were joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales, their 3 children and other senior royals. More than 1,300 military personnel were involved in that procession, led by the Household Cavalry and the King's Troop of the Royal Horse Artillery. Actor Timothy Spall recited an excerpt of Winston Churchill's 1945 victory speech, and a tea party took place with the King and Queen, joined by veterans. Sir Keir Starmer was greeted with applause from guests as he joined the VE Day street party in Downing Street. The Prime Minister, joined by his wife, Lady Starmer, walked out of Number 10 holding a plate of cakes, which he then handed out to some of the guests. In other news, the Home Secretary has described terror raids in which 8 men were arrested as one of the biggest counter-terrorism operations in recent years. Reports say the arrest came just hours before a suspected attack was set to be launched. 5 men, including 4 Iranian nationals, were arrested at locations across England on Saturday, while the Metropolitan Police confirmed a further 3 Iranian men were arrested as part of a separate operation. Yvette Cooper says the government is supporting the relevant security agencies in the ongoing investigations. A 14-year-old boy who died after a fire at an industrial estate was loved by all who met him, his family says. 14 children arrested on suspicion of manslaughter have been released on bail after Leighton Carr was killed in a fire in Gateshead. The fire was extinguished and police said Leighton's body was located inside the building. 11 boys and 3 girls aged between 11 and 14 have been released on bail pending further inquiries. In other news, Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel's plan to capture all of the Gaza Strip will be intensive, with troops to remain there for an unspecified length of time. The Israeli Prime Minister says IDF forces will not launch raids and then abandon territory, but the opposite. The plan includes distributing aid, though supplies will not be let in yet. The newly approved offensive plan would move Gaza's civilian population southward and keep humanitarian aid from falling into Hamas's hands. And finally, in the sports today, Trent Alexander-Arnold has announced that he is to leave Liverpool Football Club at the end of the season. Well, in a statement today, the England defender said it was the hardest decision he'd ever made, but he also said he wants to push himself professionally and personally. The 26-year-old, who's been at the club since he was just 6 years old, is out of contract on the 30th of June, and he is expected to be joining Real Madrid. And those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, hello everybody. It is a very special Patrick Christys tonight, a VE Day special with a wonderful live studio audience. Hello everybody. Absolutely brilliant to see so many people with so many medals, people who've got family and friends who've served in the military as well on such a special day. And the very best of British pomp and pageantry was out in force today to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day. So, 1,300 soldiers, airmen and sailors marched from Parliament Square to Buckingham Palace to commemorate Victory in Europe Day. Of course, nearly 80 years ago today, Winston Churchill took to the airwaves to declare victory in Europe after the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany. There was great celebration, relief, but also sadness for so many who had given up so much. But there are fears today that our current armed forces might be woefully unprepared to fight another war. British troops destined for the Russian border to help Ukrainian soldiers with drone warfare have reportedly been banned from practicing their skill due to health and safety regulations. So health and safety has got involved now, apparently, with drone training, which I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes out here in this studio. Soldiers training on Salisbury Plain have reportedly been told to stop flying drones over colleagues' heads due to safety concerns, even if those down below are sitting in a heavily armoured tank at the time. Which seems a little bit ridiculous, doesn't it? Now it comes after Navy bosses were left red-faced last year after the test firing of a Trident missile from a Royal Navy submarine failed for the second time in a row. Now, in recent years, though, the Army top brass have been accused of being slightly obsessed with woke diversity, haven't they? In 2023, an official inquiry found that the Royal Air Force unlawfully discriminated against white men in a recruitment drive aimed at boosting diversity. So what I want to know is, would our armed forces be ready to fight a war today? And I'm going to put this to my panel, but what I'd like to do first, if that's all right, is there's a chap on the front row here called Malcolm. And Malcolm, you said hello to me earlier on, and you've got a definition of what a veteran is that I think, given that this is a veteran special here on Patrick Christys tonight, I think we should ground ourselves in what this is. So what would you like to say about that?
Thank you. Well, I was in the Royal Air Force 22 years as a musician, but served in the first Gulf War. And so this is, means a lot. I think people should realise quite the definition of a veteran, which has been said sometimes. It's someone who at one time in their life wrote a blank cheque to king and country for an amount up to and including their life. Does any other kind of job have that commitment?
No. Well done. Thank you very much as well. That's, I think it's just a lovely way to run the show. And just so, before we go to the panel, we do have quite a few veterans in tonight, don't we? Do you want to make a bit of noise if you are a veteran for us? Yeah. There we go. You love to see it. Right, well, Bob, I'll come to you first on this, because you do actually have some military experience as well, quite a lot of it. Are we fit for purpose now today?
No. Look, the people in the Army, the men and women in the Army, Navy and Air Force are, as I'm sure, as good as they've ever been, and they have that passion and they have that commitment that Malcolm, was it? Yeah. Malcolm so eloquently outlined. We've got some problems, and in a nutshell, what they are is, firstly, mass, size. For 20, 30 years after the end of the Cold War, we thought you can get smaller and smaller, and as long as we have a technological advantage, we're OK. The era of state and state conflict, it's over. All we have to do is kill terrorists. So we just have lots of elite, sort of exquisite drones and kit. The Russia-Ukraine war has taught us that we need mass. We need more ships, more tanks, because people die in major wars, and we simply have no redundancy. That's the fact. Secondly, when it comes to drones, we are now a generation behind. We used to think of drones as being replacement for air power. Yeah, you sort of drop it on a terrorist once in a blue moon. There are 1,000 drones flying around the Ukrainian-Russian front lines at any one time, and by next year there'll be 10,000 drones. These things are no longer eyes in the skies up there. They are flying mortars with ears and eyes, and they will go after you individually. And I've been on that front line a few months ago writing a book on the Russia-Ukraine war. Within 10 kilometres of the front line, you actively have these small drones hunting for you, and they will literally drop on you.
All right, can I just put this to the test of the audience here, right? Do you think our military has been too obsessed with diversity? wokeness. There's quite a few people. Do some of you think it's important, maybe, that we do have a bit more diversity in the army? Does anyone? Well, give us that point, and then we'll put this to Carol. Malcolm, just put that microphone back to your mouth. You're not bothered about the old diversity and the health and safety
No,
stuff?
you want the right person for the job. If we're fighting for a war, you need people who are in it for, you know, the right purpose, not because they're the right colour or right religion. That isn't the point about going to war. We are protecting our country and our traditions.
OK, Carol, how would you respond to that and probably tie in the health and safety?
Martin's absolutely right, because, you know, what the diversity thing means is that people are getting into the military who aren't suited to the job. They're getting in because they're the right colour, the right ethnicity, whatever. But, you know, on this story that we're talking about here, these drones, you know, as Bob has just said, drones are the future of this military. They're a vital facet now in warfare. And if we're sending soldiers to Ukraine, which we are going to be doing in the next few months to help the Ukrainians fight, you know, the Defence Secretary John Healey said he's sending thousands, tens of thousands of these drones over to Ukraine. If we're sending them with people who don't know how to use them, who haven't been trained properly how to use them, it's astonishing. And you know, they're also talking about sending this. There was this kit that the soldiers are now having to buy themselves. It's for. Tell me, it's about the intercepting signals from drones.
You mean electronic warfare, yeah?
Yeah, but it's sending signals from the drones, and they're not allowing soldiers to practice that here, which means they're having to go out and buy the kit themselves, which will enable them to practice that, which is just not right. You know, how can and you know, these rules are being made by a bunch of civil servants and a bunch of people who would flee from war, who would flee from battle. We ought to send them out to Ukraine with the soldiers and let them see how wars are actually fought.
I suppose we might lose if we did that. That's the problem, isn't it?
Let them see what the guys are facing, not to fight, but let them see what these guys face on a daily basis. They don't know.
Go on, Benjamin. Quite a lot to come back to there. I mean, the ridiculous health and safety aspect. You see, most people in this room who have served, I think, find that absolutely bonkers, don't they? So why are we doing it now? We've got snowflake soldiers?
Like me, do you mean? Snowflake, but not a soldier? Well, look, I mean, the problem with it is that the key is in the word training, to be training to be able to use them in real situations. And so if it's too dangerous to do that when you're practicing, then God knows they're going to get a shock if they end up having to deal with these drones in a real battlefield. So, of course, it doesn't make sense. But I don't accept that diversity is somehow a weakness of this. I mean, let's be honest, there aren't enough people wanting to go into the armed forces. It's a massive problem. It's why they're so small. And so when you say diversity, it's not about having more black people for the sake of it. It's about trying to get more people feel comfortable to sign up to join the armed forces, which helps us all out.
I think there's a happy medium here, and I'm not sure we're where it's at. So for sure, let's make the Army, Navy and Air Force attractive for women, for minorities, for folks who haven't necessarily come from a military background. If you're Fijian, you may well have. If you're Nigerian, you may well have. If you're Jamaican, you might have. But for lots of people, they haven't. But that should never come at the expense of quality. So we were reading about somebody in the police force who failed the job, but they still got it because they were an ethnic minority candidate. I'm sorry. That's just, if I came from an ethnic minority, I'd just be offended by that.
But, you know, it's a good job, isn't it, that these health and safety boards weren't around 80 years ago because we wouldn't be where we are today. And that's the point. You know, you can't have health and safety idiots in Whitehall making rules about something that they know nothing about. And they are limiting these soldiers' ability to fight a war.
OK. Now, Mark, I'm going to bring you in, and then once you've made your point, if anybody else would like to get involved in this particular topic, just wave your hand frantically and we'll try and get the microphone to you as well. Malcolm, how do you feel about the state of Britain's current armed forces and compare that maybe to
I was going to say,
when
as a musician, I was suddenly being trained to be a medic in the first Gulf War, and we were posted out there having to take tablets to protect us from nerve agent, all sorts of things. They hadn't been tested particularly, but my God, I was going to take them in case it was going to save my life at some point. So sometimes health and safety has to go out the window. You know, actually should be. Interestingly, I'm actually a drone pilot myself.
How are you?
And I'm 72 now, retired, long since retired from the Air Force. So I'm a hobby one, but I'm well aware of the CAA rules. There are strict rules about how high you can fly and everything else, but it's quite ridiculous. I can fly over somebody's garden so long as I'm not interrupting their privacy, but why on earth can't you fly over a tank to give some realism to the troops training who are putting their lives on the line, you know, for war?
Do you think there's a psychological difference, potentially, between some of the people who served, dare I say, in your day, and then maybe where we are now? Or do you think, like Carol's saying, this is coming from management, this is coming from people who are maybe not even trained themselves militarily, and they're influencing it?
Well, trouble is, war is real. You're possibly going to get killed, and you've got to realise what you're going to face. And to learn how to face it, you've got to learn the truth about what you're dealing with, and it has to be as realistic as possible, so it's not a shock.
Michael's right. War, by its very nature, is not safe. And if we're sending troops to Ukraine who are not properly prepared, we are putting them in danger.
OK, Bob, and then back.
I mean, I don't think our troops are ever going to go to Ukraine, to be honest. I don't think the Russians are going to play ball. They want to destroy that country. I think there's a bit of cynicism in Number 10. This is about the only decent thing they've done, so they're trying to spin this idea out. It's never going to happen in my book.
But even if it doesn't, Bob, they have to be prepared.
No, what we have to be prepared for, Carol, you're absolutely right, is not Ukraine, but actually it's the Baltic republics. And the politicians keep talking about a war mentality, we need to get ready, and the generals are saying we might have to fight in a few years. The bureaucrats and the rules and regulations, which the army is petrified of because they absolutely stifle everything, says at the same time, you can't do this, you can't do that. We're going to go out there absolutely naked when it comes to drones and electronic warfare, unless our troops can... Actually, you train hard, so you fight easy, and we're doing it the other way around at the moment. It's not good.
OK, all right. Well, look, a great start. There's a chap there with his hand up. I think we might be pressed for time just for now, sorry, but we'll go to you maybe for the next one, because the next topic we're going to cover when we come back is whether or not Labour has been far too liberal on mass immigration. There seems to be a little bit of, criticism now from one backbench Labour MP after those absolutely diabolical election results for Labour. Really interesting here to think as the veterans and the community amongst us here. Do you think that immigration has been too high in Britain?
Yes.
Yes? A bit laughable there for some people that I asked that. But anyway, well, look, hey, there is still plenty of time to grab your chance, though, before we get to that, for our biggest ever prize today. It is the reason why many of you came tonight. I know it is. It's your chance to win a whopping great big motorhome and £5 in tax-free cash. Here's how.
Don't miss out on a prize package worth over £72,000, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. You could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. Plus a further £5,000 in tax-free cash will make sure your next adventure makes memories to last a lifetime. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, well, it's an action-packed, very special show tonight. We've got this coming up.
Two-party politics just died in front of our eyes.
Labour MPs are in crisis after Reform UK swept a victory at the local elections last week. So, is a freeze on migration the only way for the Prime Minister to combat the rise of reform? That's next. Oh, and, well, was Prince Louis the star of today's VE Day celebrations? Look at this.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very special Patrick Christys tonight. Yes, it is the VE Day special. We've got a room full of, well, veterans or people whose parents were veterans and all of this stuff, so it's fantastic to be here as well on such a monumental day in British history. But the fallout from Labour's abysmal local election performances continues with a massive backlash. Labour MPs now have actually been slamming the Prime Minister's hyper-liberal Labour Party, which they say is ignoring working-class concerns about immigration. So, Jonathan Hinder said that migration was an existential threat to his party after Reform UK's historic triumph at last week's local elections. He wants the Prime Minister, to freeze migration by the next Parliament, introducing a one-in, one-out system. Well, there we go. I mean, it would be a direct imitation of Reform UK's migration policy. Nigel Farage's party has pledged to have what they call net zero migration. So there we go. I want to get the thoughts of my lovely studio audience, and there is a gentleman over there. I think you might have to stand up for us if that's okay, sir. You've got some medals on your chest. Shall we deal with that first? What are we looking at here, please?
We're looking at the General Service Medal Northern Ireland, First Gulf War, Bosnia, and Long Service and Good Conduct, strangely.
Oh, well, brilliant. Well, an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
What would you like to say on this topic, then? It's about immigration, Labour, etc.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, panel. Yeah. I mean, really, further to what you said there, Patrick, with the backbench Labour MP calling his party hyper-liberal with their policy on migration and actually ignoring working-class people's concerns, should they be considering freezing migration and adopting a one-in, one-out policy?
Right. OK. Well, can I ask? You don't have to give your opinion, because I appreciate it's controversial. Where are you on this? Do you think we should have it?
I absolutely agree with it. I think we need to be looking at freezing migration. I think we need to be looking more towards removing those people in the country who have no entitlement to be here. And I think we should be looking at, once we have established that, a one-in, one-out process.
Yeah, all right, sweet. And people in favour of that, roughly? Yeah? All right. Well, there we go. The problem problem for you is that's a lot of common sense, right? And we can't have that coming. Carol, your views on what our gentleman there has to say?
No, he's absolutely right. You know, you said earlier that people, working class people, have concerns about immigration. They have concerns about everything under this government, but particularly immigration. You know, this Labour government isn't listening to what the people of this country are saying. And, you know, it really makes me cross, because I'm old enough to know that the people in this country are very welcoming towards people who are fleeing war and persecution. We have always had a fantastic reputation for taking care of people. However, this is out of control now. This is a load of people coming from sub-Saharan Africa who, you know, I get why they want a better life, but it's not up to British taxpayers to pay for it. And people get very, very upset when they see their taxes being lavished, putting people up in four-star hotels, building houses especially for them. Last week we heard half of the rental accommodation in the country is going to be taken over by them, when our own homeless are left to rot on the streets. They don't get that kind of attention.
Well, and homeless veterans as well.
Yes,
we have far too many homeless veterans.
Yeah.
Far too many.
Yeah.
Benjamin, you know, why are we seeing people putting up now in either hotels or in things like this rental accommodation that we're going to have, whilst we've got brave military veterans out on the streets?
I mean, the fact that we don't have a welfare state that makes sure those veterans get what they want isn't the fault of refugees. And let's be honest,
but they're not refugees. A lot of them are. They're not refugees.
Yeah. Well, that's for a caseworker to decide, right, whether they're legally here.
Or a horribly lefty judge.
But
yes.
this idea of so-called net zero immigration is completely impossible, and it's never going to happen. A reformed government, God forbid, wouldn't do it, because what that would mean is that if you have certain sectors that need people coming in, like the care sector, for example, well, you'd have to have several people leave to be able to fill those jobs. It'd be completely economically illiterate. It's never going to happen. And as a young person, you talk about the lack of housing. Well, we need to build at least 1.5 million homes this Parliament. Really, we need a lot more than that.
That's never going to happen either. You know
we can't do that without people coming here that build the houses, because there aren't enough people that are builders in Britain.
Do you seriously think the people who are coming here illegally on boats are going to be building some of those 1.5 million houses? That's cloud cuckoo land. They're not.
Well, they're all brain surgeons for a start, so they're busy doing that.
They're not brain surgeons, as we well know, and a lot of them don't speak English, and a lot of them have dumped their papers, so we don't know who they are, what their records are. But they're not going to be helping build it. A lot of those people aren't going to contribute anything to this country. Well, they're coming just because they know they're going to be taken care of.
Obviously, we shouldn't. I was just going to say, obviously, the fact that people are coming here in boats to the so-called southern border, I believe people are now calling it, is absurd. It's dangerous. And Labour MPs I've been speaking to in recent days since the results are pulling their hair out that they're losing the narrative. But you shouldn't be hoodwinked into easy answers, because if they're an easy answer to just stop it, then this government or the last would have done it.
Go on, Bob. Go on, Bob.
OK, there's a bunch of points there, but very briefly, look, if you come here illegally, you break the law.
Exactly.
Yeah? You're paying organised crime to get you into a country. You're probably somebody who's got money because you've paid 5-10 grand to organised crime to get you into this country. You are a criminal because you've broken the law. You should be arrested as soon as you set foot in this country, in dock the next day. You're sentenced to 6 months for breaking into this country illegally, and then you go to a detention centre and you either say where you're from or you don't leave that detention centre until you say where you're from, and you're sent back there with a lifetime ban. That is how you deal with this issue. I don't know why the last government did. I tell you, one of the things I did is I try to bring in a law that actually say the only asylum seekers we will take, and we have responsibilities, we have moral responsibilities, Benjamin, you're absolutely right, and you make your case well there, that we should take limited numbers, 5, 10, 15,000 people, depending on the international circumstance. We take them only from the UN. Everyone else who comes here, you come here a student visa, you claim asylum. It's a scam. But, you come here illegally, you claim asylum. It's a scam. We have got to get real about this.
But this population is expanding.
We're going to have to whiz ourselves over, actually, briefly now, because GBNews reports that Doogie Beattie is at a street party in Kilkeel in Northern Ireland. And I don't know about you, but I'm desperate to see what's going on here. So, Doogie, go on, take it away, my good man.
Oh, Patrick, what a night. The guns were meant to be fired here at 9:30. There was a 92-year-old lorry that was part of the actual street party, broke down in the middle of the road. I'm out pushing this lorry. Everybody else has pushed it down the road. We had to redirect the traffic round, so there's been a slight hold-up, but there you go, pushing lorries. But I have come down to where the guns and fireworks are about to go off. And you can see behind us, these are very, very old cannon, dating back from the 1600s. And with me is the main cannoneer. Is that the right name for you, Ian?
I'm Ian.
Ian Eagleson, yes. It's the North Irish Dragoons are the group, and this is our, I suppose, horse artillery. One of the cannons there is a galloper gun, which normally would have had a little horse pulling it, and the other one would also be horse-drawn as well. So, yeah, we're delighted to be here tonight, and we're looking forward. There's a bit of a link here, I should point out. We're all dressed in sort of 1620s, 1630s Scots, Earl of Leven's regimental gear. We thought it would be a nice touch because it's 400 years from King Charles the First came to the throne, and of course he was a Stuart, a Scot. So we're dressed in Scots gear from around the 1620s, 1630s. Since we've got another King Charles on the throne.
Well, there you go, charge to charge. These will be firing very shortly, and I can assure you, we will send you the pictures as soon as it happens.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see a little bit of explosive action there. So, amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Doogie BT. We all love Doogie here, don't we, everybody? Does a stellar job for us. OK, well, we've got a lot coming your way because shoplifting is up, crime is up, confidence in the police has hit rock bottom. Is it time, do you think, to bring the army in to restore law and order? We did hear it when it came to the Birmingham bin strike. I do know some people in the military who actually found that incredibly offensive, that they should just be drafted in to try and sort out all of the country's problems, and I'm kind of on their side about all of that. But would a bit of military presence on the streets help sort out law and order, do we think? My panel, they're going to have their say on that in the next few minutes. And should we just remind ourselves about how absolutely wonderful the red arrows are?
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Despite some dry and sunny weather across parts of the UK, it's a different story across parts of Europe, with heavy showers and thunderstorms for many of us, particularly across parts of Spain, southern parts of France and parts of Italy too, seeing some heavy thunderstorms throughout Tuesday afternoon. Southern parts of Greece and Turkey probably holding on to the best of the sunshine through Tuesday afternoon. Highs here around 26 degrees, but there will be some sunshine on offer for many of us over the next couple of days, and highs in Tenerife around 24 or 25 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the weather's not going to be changing drastically through the next few days. It's going to stay dry for most of us. It will gradually turn warmer towards the end of the week, but there'll still be a bit of a breeze in the south. So we've got this large area of high pressure dominating the UK at the moment. Any showers that we saw through Monday clearing away as we go through this evening, and I think generally speaking it's going to be a dry night across the vast majority of the UK. That cloud melting away to leave generally clear skies for many places overnight tonight. Just a chance the odd spot of rain perhaps across the far northeast of Scotland and the odd shower in eastern counties of England. Under those clear skies, temperatures really falling away, so a widespread frost in the countryside, though most towns and cities staying just above freezing. Tuesday then begins on a fairly sunny note for the vast majority of the UK, but down across the southeast of England a bit more in the way of cloud once again, although not as cloudy as it was on Monday. Still one or two showers perhaps on the east coast of England, but generally speaking most of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland starting the day on a bright and sunny note, and any mist and fog quickly clearing by mid-morning. A bit more in the way of cloud though still across the far north, east and northwest of Scotland, just bringing the odd spit and spot of rain to a few places. Through the day then we might just see one or two showers just clipping into parts of East Anglia and Lincolnshire, but not as many as there were on Monday, and many places staying dry. The best of the sunshine out towards Wales, Western England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and here we'll see the highest temperatures too, so 17s and 18s a bit more widespread on Tuesday and feeling quite warm in the light winds, still quite breezy in the east. For Wednesday, perhaps a slightly cloudier day, but generally dry for most of us. A lot of sunshine as well, breaking through that cloud, but some high-level clouds, so maybe a little bit hazier than it has been of late. And temperatures once again, well, into the mid to high teens for many of us. And whilst it will be quite cloudy to end the week, there will be some warm sunshine at times, and temperatures may well reach 20 degrees by Friday.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Here in the studio. Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, a VE Day special. We are joined by many veterans and people associated with veterans, etc. It's really nice it's on such a monumental day. And shock new figures, though, have revealed that shoplifting in England and Wales has risen to the highest level ever on record. So there's more than 500,000 offences recorded last year alone. Knife crime, I think, as we all know, has continued to rise as well. More than 55,000 offences involving a knife or a sharp instrument recorded in 2024. But a recent poll found that just 40% of Brits trust their police force. So, do we need to think about bringing in the army to restore law and order? I want to sound people out on this now, so a couple of questions, pantomime style, OK? Do you feel less safe on the streets than maybe you did 10 or 15 years ago? Yes, I think that's relatively universal there, isn't it? Where do people think, where are you on bringing in the... Do you think we should bring in the army onto the streets to tackle law and order? No. Not yet. No. OK, right. OK, well, let's get stuck into this then. So we've got... Who's got the microphone now? Yes, good lad. OK, well, would you mind standing up for us? I think talk us through the medals again, my good man, please, and then ask your question or make your point.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, panel. My name's Alan. This one over my heart is my campaign medal, my Air Ops Iraq medal. And these over here commemorate my grandfather who served in Burma in the Forgotten Army.
Well, what would your point be now on, loosely speaking anyway, bringing the army in to help with law and order?
I spent 18 years as a policeman and 7 in South Yorkshire Police and 11 in the RAF. When in the RAF, we used to assist the local forces all the time. The local constabulary used to call our assistance if they needed us. And when I was on an RAF unit, we might have a dozen, 15 people like myself who are just sitting there. So the local constabulary would call us in and use us. So why not double crew cars with somebody like myself who's been through some training and can assist the sworn constable?
OK, well, yeah, I mean, it sounds good to me, but has anyone got any negatives to that? I don't know.
That is incredible. I didn't expect anyone to say that, especially someone like you, Alan, who's actually served yourself. And I think if you guys are prepared to do it, I don't see why not. I don't think you should have to. I think it's astonishing that the police in this country now have just... They've almost decriminalised shoplifting. They don't care. They're too busy trying to catch people sending hurty tweets, and it's really annoying that they're not on the ground. But, you know, shops, you know, the recent stats today, shoplifting costs this country a year 2.2 billion. It costs businesses 2.2 billion. In London alone, it costs 9.5 million a month. So why aren't the cops out there stopping this? This is big-time crime. You know, I read something today that in one supermarket, there's this guy comes in every day, and he just takes what he likes, and he says to the people, same time tomorrow, folks. He just doesn't care because no one stops him. If you don't have the will to stop them, it's not going to stop.
OK, and while we get that gentleman the mic there, go on, Leo, what would you like to say on this?
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
If we mix military with police, we should remember what happened in Northern Ireland.
OK.
That's exactly the background.
OK, all right. OK, so you'd be very fearful of doing it,
Yes,
clearly.
definitely.
OK, fine. Bob, what would your view on this be?
I think twofold. Firstly, we need to stop criminalising opinions and wasting police time knocking on doors for...
hurty tweets
or offensive tweets or whatever, and we've got to realise that we're a free country, maybe think about having a First Amendment. Is First Amendment freedom of speech, or is it right to bear arms? I can't remember.
Well,
one of the other.
Whichever one you want, we can have it, Bob.
Either or. We've got to recognise that freedom of speech is the right to be offended, and actually get those police out in the streets. Likewise, anyone who's doing a diversity job in the police, scrap the job, spend the money on more coppers. The other thing I'd suggest, actually, if we want to increase the size of the police, treat special constables like you do a military reserve. They're not going to be... But actually, if you have a system, a structure, whereby special constables don't do it for free on a Friday or Saturday night, but are treated like the reserve and like soldiers or reserve Air Force people or Navy, I think that is a good way of drawing people in and actually paying them to bulk out the police.
One of the things that gets me, and I know it affects a lot of people in this country, is the idea of suicide and depression amongst veterans. OK, when they come out of service, not just because of things that they've seen or done potentially, but the fact that maybe they feel a little bit more useless in their life, etc. And I just wonder whether or not by introducing them into something like a reserve police force might help to keep them more active. But I'm going to go to Benjamin on this. But how do you feel about that, sir? You asked the original question on this.
I was discharged in 2010, and my mental health has been absolutely poor since, due to combat trauma. And I think it's vital that people like me get some role.
Out of interest, Alan, did you get help for your?
No, I was discharged and told that if I needed assistance, I should go to the hospital and self-refer.
See, that's shocking.
Can I just say, Johnny Mercer, as Veterans Minister, he was the best Veterans Minister that we've had for a very long time in this country. Yes. And I'm not saying the system was perfect, but in most things, Johnny spent his job, he treated it as his passion and his dedication.
Right. Would it not be a good way, maybe, of keeping veterans active and busy, to give them roles, like reserve roles, with the police and with jobs like that we need doing, Benjamin? What do you think?
I mean, yes, and there seem to be... Every police van has adverts asking people to please go and be police officers, so there's clearly a shortage. I dare say sacking 20,000 officers a decade ago and then rehiring people that are younger and less experienced has had a consequence that we're seeing the answer to. Look, I don't really want to live in a country where you have soldiers going around Greggs checking whether you've paid for your sausage roll. I don't think that would actually be a better society. But I tell you what, it drives me absolutely mad that we've got into a situation where this is normal. Predictably, I was in Greggs last week, and I'm paying for my lunch, and a guy on rollerblades comes in, takes 2 bottles of juice, hands one to someone that I assume was his kid, and is straight out. And I just couldn't believe it. And I said to the woman, you know, what's going on? And she said that she was in tears last Friday because of how much stuff had been stolen. And so, you know, part of it is we don't need the army, we need the police to do their jobs. And also, whenever you report this stuff, they just say it's not proportionate.
Why don't shops have security guards, people who they pay to actually stop this going on? Burly security guards.
They don't want to get threatened with a knife for the sake of, you know, something.
I don't know, does anyone else see this? I have it in my local Tesco's. They put the smallest woman I've ever seen in my life with a high-vis jacket on, seriously, by the door, and they put a little body cam on her, so they think, oh, that's all right. The people who are going in and robbing, they don't care about it. You've got a load of blokes behind the counter. It makes it... So, very quickly, have you got Michael?
Why don't they just put them in jail for a length of time, like you do the people...
No cells.
OK. Put them in jail for 2 years.
All right, so we didn't have a microphone for you. Just say that very quickly. Say that again.
Yeah, why don't they just put the shoplifters into jail and punish them instead of letting them get away with everything? They're doing it with the tweeters. They're too light on the sentences with them. They just walk in and out the courts and do nothing and laugh.
Give proper sentences for proper crimes, basically, I suppose. Yes. All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It is a lively start here. But before we go back to Kill Kill to hopefully see a little bit of firework and cannon action coming up...
I would love reconciliation with my family.
I am very keen to see how a room full of veterans feels about one of their own. Prince Harry, of course, 2 tours in Afghanistan. I want to know how they feel about that. It might be worth watching. Stay tuned, stay tuned.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Amazing. I'm so pleased for him, and I think everybody in Northern Ireland. He did defeat an Englishman in the playoff.
He did.
Which is,
Justin Rose.
Yeah.
See, Justin Rose, not many people are going to talk about Justin Rose, well, apart from us.
Yes.
But Justin Rose, it talk about, you know, the bridesmaid and the bride, and it's been that with Rory. He's been the runner-up in the Masters twice. And 44 years old, and to do what he did and get a round of 66 was incredible. But Rory, see, people have written Rory off, and I've got to admit, even a couple of years ago, and I'm thinking, this is not going to happen for Rory, because it's this ultimate Grand Slam. Now, I think in golf, the Grand Slam is probably harder to win than any other sport, tennis, anything else. Because if you just look at the list, so this is basically to win the PGA, the American PGA, the US Open, the Open here, and the Masters. So this is to win the big four throughout your career. And only Gene Sarazen in 35, Ben Hogan in 1953, Gary Player in 1965, the legendary Jack Nicklaus in 66, and Tiger Woods in 2000. They're the only people to have done it. And if you think of all the great golfers over the years, nobody, apart from them, have managed it. And now Rory's managed it, and that makes him the greatest European golfer there has ever been.
Well, there's emotion you see there. I mean, you see what he so wants. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, he broke down in tears at the end, and it's not surprising because this is the thing. And it's 2011 was the last time he won a major. So at the time when he was much younger, they were coming left, right, and centre, and you think this kid's going to do everything. And then he was winning tournaments, but not those majors. And it was the Masters. That was the one he wanted. Well, give him a bus tour. You know, get the open top bus out. Get him around. And,
he will.
He'll deserve it. I mean, absolute hero.
GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It is a VE Day special, and the quality of the audience tonight has been absolutely top tier. So thank you very much, everybody. Well, the fallout from Prince Harry's bombshell BBC interview has continued, and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, posted a photograph today of Prince Harry and their children on social media after he was criticised for fuelling speculation about the King's health. In an interview on Friday, the Duke claimed that his father could intervene after he lost a court case over his security arrangements.
How much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
OK, let's go straight to my audience member here. Sir, what do you think about what Prince Harry had to say there?
Good evening. Well, he certainly never loses an opportunity to lose an opportunity. And today of all days, with the royal family playing such a prominent role, he could have been front row himself. And he's lost the opportunity yet again. So my question to you is a royal reconciliation further away than ever before?
Oh, well, it's a great point. Well made, sir. Love that. What do we think, Carol?
It's a million miles away now, you know. Just when you think he can't sink any lower, he proves you wrong. And he did it in that interview this week when he said about his father that he wanted a reconciliation because he didn't know how long he had left. How dare he say that? You know, the royals, the palace, the media have not gone near what might happen to Prince Charles because we have too much respect.
King.
Oh, yes, King Charles.
It's easily done.
Sorry, my bad. Because we have too much respect to him. It's just not talked about what could happen to him. And yet his son comes in and says that, not out of concern for his father, because he wants him to feel sorry for him that he's not getting to see him. To answer to your question, that interview that he did last week, where he criticised the king on one hand and said he could have solved this problem with his security, and then he says he wants a conciliation in the next breath. But it's exactly interviews like that show there's never going to be a reconciliation, because Charles cannot trust his son not to spill his guts to the US media.
Just for radio listeners who might have heard Carol briefly interrupted by a trumpet there, we are going to be going. We are going to Kilkeel very shortly in Northern Ireland with Dougie Beattie. What you'll be able to see if you're watching us on television or online is the build-up to their VE Day 80th commemoration. We're expecting, I think anyway, a gun salute and some fireworks as well. So when that really kicks off, for want of a better phrase, we'll go back to that. But the veterans who are with us in the studio right now. Now, Prince Harry, is he not one of your own? 2 tours of Afghanistan. You know, he's not. You don't feel the Invictus Games afterwards. Does anyone who's a veteran here like Harry?
I think he married the wrong person.
You think you married the wrong person? Well, there we go. I mean, everyone's allowed to view. So my point here being, Benjamin, it appears to me anyway, from this particular collection of veterans, that Prince Harry, you know, even though he's fought and put his life on the line for the country, they're not a massive fan of him.
But I think we all respect that. But, you know, every other veteran doesn't spend the next 20 years playing the victim complex when they're the son of the king. He called it an establishment stitch-up.
Yeah.
You're the establishment. Your dad is the head of 15 states. It's ridiculous to look at it that way. And I think he keeps talking about being willing to have a reconciliation, being willing to forgive. I think he should try harder to earn the reconciliation than just demanding it, because it wasn't the king that sold the family secrets for millions of pounds in a memoir and might do it again, and Meghan keeps threatening the same thing. But on the other side, I do think it's wrong that he doesn't get this level of security, because let's be honest...
He's not a working royal, Benjamin.
I know, but the threat to him...
The Sandringham Agreement, he knew he was losing his...
But the threat to him is not really affected by whether he's a working royal. It's the fact he was born a prince and is incredibly famous. And if ISIS tried to shoot him in the street, they wouldn't care less whether he was doing royal duties or not, and he can't undo that.
All right. Bob, I'll go to you. Just bear in mind as well, we might be interrupted any moment now by going to this gun salute in Kilkeel. But yes, on the Harry situation, where are you?
I think he's a painful mix of entitlement, resentment and lack of intelligence.
Exactly.
And actually lack of dignity as well.
Yeah. No, well, feel free to carry on, because we're going to be another 30 seconds to do.
You told me to be brief.
I've
never been more concise. I've lost the energy to get enough energy to think, to pull my hair out.
But do you not look at him like...
Sorry, Carol. I'm sorry. On that bombshell, we're going to have to go to Dougie Beattie. We're going to have to go to Dougie Beattie because we want to, not have to. But Dougie's going to be talking us through exactly what's going on there in Kilkeel in Northern Ireland. It's been a day of commemorations, of course. We've been covering here at GB News right across the country. I was in Melton Mowbray, and we have reporters everywhere. So Dougie Beattie's kind of rounding off this coverage for us. I think we could take him now, can we, Dougie?
Yes, Patrick, I'm here, and you just see the Lord Lieutenant of County Down. That is Gone Rowan Hamilton. He is actually the Queen Mother's cousin, and he's just about to fire the first of these cannon. The beacon to my right-hand side, overlooking the Irish Sea, has just been lit, and we hope any second now that these guns shall spring into life.
And our best thanks
to we have had the Remember Them. We have had everything by the Commissioner for Veterans in Northern Ireland. Ian is now reaching for the gun. He's reaching for the flintlock. They're about to start loading. That's it. They're putting the powder keg in as we speak. These are guns from the 1600s. This was King Charles's regiment, the Scottish and Irish Dragoons. They're dressed in the uniform of that day because, of course, King Charles is now on the throne. He's just stuffing the wadding down into it. They're about to put in the wick into the cannon. He's just priming the cannon. And for those listening on radio, this is quite the sight, actually. And any second now, I will jump out of my skin, I have no doubt whatsoever. So if I swear, please forgive me. Here we go. Here we go. Gon has reached for the wick. He is now starting to light the first cannon. We'll see what happens now. This takes a long time. You can see the cannoneer just lighting the second wick as we're there, ready to prime the other gun. Rowan seems to be having a problem lighting that gun. There we go. There's the first one away.
I now want you to join with me in the countdown for the fireworks display.
And here we go. I'm going to go again.
We're firing the first shot there. So join with me. Make sure
so he's going to fire the second one.
10, 9, 8.
Here we go.
6.
Second, Ian Livingstone is going
4,
to 3, the gun.
2, 1.
He's about to light. There's the fireworks just starting overhead. You just ask the camera to move to those fireworks. Come out, zoom out. You can see the beacon in the foreground lit there, and the fireworks come over. The second gun's about to fire. Second gun away. At this rate of going, we'll be here all night for 21 shots. There's the third away. Now they're going. Come out wider, give me in vision. So there you go, Patrick. It is quite the display here tonight, and it wraps up the start of VE Day for Northern Ireland, because of course this will be our big day will be Thursday. I will be in Lisburn in the morning, and then Shankill Road in West Belfast in the evening to have a look at exactly what's going on across the province.
Oh, Doogie Beatty, everybody, well done. What a guy. Can I just say, I absolutely love stuff like this. I love it. I love being in Melton Mowbray earlier today, where you just have people playing old songs and dancing in the street and stalls, and to see our flag everywhere as well, which makes a change from some parts of the country you go to where you see the flag of every other country and not our own. So that was really lovely. So I just think it's been a really special day, actually, hasn't it? It's been
completely,
lovely.
yeah. And I was watching stuff on the telly today. It was just fantastic to see. You know, we are told now by various politicians, by this government actually, that it's wrong to be patriotic. It's nationalistic, not patriotic, and it's not. This shows that people still feel it. You know, they still want to say thank you 80 years later to the people who made sacrifices.
You know what? You make a great point there, and actually, it's just come to me this, but I think we'll have it, because there's a gentleman there with a Union Jack waistcoat. We've got a variety of different people in quite patriotic clothing, etc. And we've got a studio here completely decked out in the Union Jack colours. We've just been for a whole day of it here at GB News, and the idea that on St George's Day, the Prime Minister of this country even dared to suggest that, oh, well, we can't have this flag, you know, co-opted by the far right. I mean, good grief, it's our flag, for goodness sake, isn't it, really? I thought that was... Did anyone else feel quite offended by that? Yeah.
But also over Easter, it's literally everyone else's celebrations apart from anything remotely Christian.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
unbelievable.
Let's get the microphone to this chap at the front here, and then I promise we will move on at some point. But it's worth doing this. Go on, sir. Sorry, yeah. Look at what you're wearing there. When you hear people who you know make it out as though someone who enjoys our flag is in some way racist,
Given their lives for this flag, and we've been to war and put our lives on the line for this country, this flag. Yeah.
The only
It
time
makes
that
me
this
cross.
country being described as being imperialistic and racist.
No.
When, in fact, I get sick of hearing it and it makes me furious. And it's people who have never been to war, who will never go to war. You know, God help them if there ever is one.
well, go on, Benjamin. I mean, look, it's been an unashamedly patriotic day today,
Well,
hasn't it? Are you going to ruin it? Are you going to ruin it?
The thing about patriotism is that free speech and freedom to think how you like is a British value, so that's the benefit of it. But one thing that struck me about today, and the reason why I'm a monarchist, is the fact that you see the most powerful people in the country, the King and the Queen and the family, and there they are, bowing down, serving the veterans and the people that saved this country. And how many places in the world, I doubt Donald Trump would behave like that. I think it's something that we should be really proud of. Yeah. And also, in an age where we're more fractured, where people don't mix and people don't listen to each other, the fact that we have that unifying force of a king and the monarchy, I think is something to be really valued. You know, it's something that brings us all together, whatever background we are, and I think we lose that at our peril.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're just taking the final bits there from Kilkeel in Northern Ireland, where they are letting fireworks off into the sky, and there was a gun salute. Look, wherever you were in the country today, or indeed wherever you were in the world, if you decided to commemorate VE Day, the 80th anniversary of VE Day, then I do hope that you had a really good time. I hope it brought your community together, and I hope it made you feel something deep in your heart about what a lovely, great country we are. But tonight, you are watching and listening to a very special Patrick Christys tonight with a live studio audience, so let's remind everyone that you are here. Thank you very much, everybody, for turning up. We've got wonderful people in the audience tonight. So today marked the start of 4 days of celebration to commemorate VE Day as the nation prepares to mark 80 years since the end of the Second World War. A survey has revealed, now get ready to be a bit angry about this, right? Has revealed that almost half of all Brits would not be prepared to fight for their country today. A staggering 48% of those polled said that there would be, quotes, no circumstances in which they would be willing to take up arms and go to war. Well, that sentiment was echoed, I must say, and by the way, I'm just going to preface this by saying, when you look around now, sometimes do you think, gosh, was this really worth fighting for? Was it really worth fighting for? And in some ways, it obviously was, but in some ways, I really don't think it was as well. No, but seriously, have a look at this, because I've always wanted to speak to a World War II veteran about this, I did manage to speak to him a little bit last week, and here's what he said.
None of the ministers can make up their mind on anything. Don't matter what you vote Labour in, and they promise you this and promise you that. All right, so you vote Conservatives in. They do exactly the self-same thing. And all they're doing now is, like with the Labour government, putting prices up and everything. I mean, all I get is a basic pension. All right, I don't mind about it because I can live on it. But they're putting gas prices up, they're putting water prices up, they put fares up. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, it's a shame. Do you feel let down?
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder now whether it was worth fighting for.
That should be a warning, that, for everyone, I think, shouldn't it? He wonders now whether or not it was worth fighting for. He looks around and he sees the state of the country. We can go to our part. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a point on this particularly? Have you got the microphone already? Who's got the mic? Has anyone got the mic? Right, let's pass that down to you, and then we'll go to Rob there. OK, so you start, so go on.
I've got 3 sons, all grown up, and they saw what the military did to me, and they have all stated, no way.
They won't?
Not a chance.
OK, that's a real shame. That's a real shame. Rob, I'll get you and then we'll go to the panel. And if anyone else wants to make a point as well, just put your hand up. We'll get the microphone to you. Go on, Rob. Could you stand up for me, mate? Is that all right? Cheers. There you are, mate.
Patrick is talking about loyalty. Going back to 1971, my family had the first soldier killed from Stoke-on-Trent in Northern Ireland.
Right.
His name was David Frank Powell. He's got a monument in the local town hall. His father, it broke his heart and it killed him. My mother, I went to Northern Ireland and patrolled the streets 3 years after. I was lucky enough to come back. My mother told me afterwards that every day when the phone rang, she'd ready to hear the news. Since then, we've had the Falklands. I was in hospital with Simon Weston. The man, how he survived that, mentally, physically, he was baked. Came back, like a lot of people, in a very bad way. Following that, we've had Afghanistan, people with problems galore, what have you. They should be concerned, this government, about the state of what it's left behind. Personally, I think the majority, not all, of the youth of today haven't got the bottle to go and fight. Right? They haven't got the bottle to do the job. They're too busy damaging monuments, ripping paintings to pieces and protesting about everything. Why not get the old-fashioned values and just do what's the correct thing for the country? Today has proven we have got a great country and everybody's come out and supported us, you included, fantastic, in Melton Mowbray. Why can't we be like that every day? Is it all going to go away again after next week and back to square one? But I just think that the army today, it needs people who want to be in, and the country hasn't got the bottle to do it no more.
All right. Well, thank you very much for those wonderful points. And for your service as well, and for your family's service. So thank you very, very much. We'll get the microphone to this chap over here. Let's get to the panel now on this, because the question, the matter in hand is when it comes to the people who basically served in the Second World War, whether or not it was worth it. When you look around and you see this version of Britain today. Bob?
I mean, yes, because you... Look, I think if the country's not good enough, we've got to come together to make it better. So, absolutely. And indeed, my own personal experience, OK, I was going to get into the regulars, didn't, join the reserve back in the 1990s, early 2000s. I actually actively tried to get mobilised because I was watching what was happening in Iraq, even when it was going wrong. And I thought to myself, I'm in the wrong country. I want to be there. I don't care. I want to help these guys. And actually, I made sure I got mobilised in 2007. And it was the best thing I ever did. And I then 10 years, I was then on full-time reserve service until I got elected to Parliament. And I have to say, for most people in the military, they have a really fulfilling time. And I loved my time in the military. I'm still technically a reservist. I loved my time in the military. I thoroughly recommend it. But I actively took a decision when, we were stuck in Iraq, that actually I wanted to get mobilised because I wanted to do my bit, so yeah.
OK, I do have sympathy for people who do say that when you see migrant hotels popping up everywhere and you see rapid demographic and cultural change and you see certain ways in which, a lot of British people in the country, I think, are very often demonised.
Patrick, it's horrible. But
that's not what those men and women who went through the Second World War fought for, is it?
Probably, but then we have to change it because the alternative is saying, I'm not going to play a part in the public engagement, I'm not going to bother anymore, I'll go and live in my own little world, I'll withdraw back into my own little world and my little community. And if more and more good people do that, like the people in this audience, where do we end up? We end up with an even worse country. We've got to fight to make it better.
The bottom line is we have a generation of young people that have been taught to hate this country, which is why they don't want to fight for it and they don't want to shed blood for it. But the bottom line is that, you're not... and I get why a lot of kids feel disappointed by this government and by previous governments. I get it. But you're not fighting for a government, you're fighting for your country. You're fighting for the freedoms of that country. And a lot of young people today who say they wouldn't fight, what's going to happen to them, do they think about this, if they don't fight? What's going to happen to the country they live in if they don't fight? What's going to happen to their freedoms if they don't fight? And I get why parents don't ever want their kids to go to war. I completely get that. But there'll come a point where we will have to defend our country. Do we want to live in a country like Russia under a leader like Putin, who if you say something, if you exercise free speech, you're taken to jail, tortured and possibly killed? Do we really want to live in that kind of country? And if we don't, we have to fight to preserve it.
Do you think it was disrespectful, though, to the legacy of our specifically in this case, World War II heroes, who fought and died for a certain type of Britain that some people, many people I know, feel and worry has been allowed to be eroded, whether it, sacrificed at the altar of things like multiculturalism and all that stuff. Does that bother you?
But of course it was worth fighting for, because the point is that all the problems we have can be fixed, hopefully, through the ballot box, through democracy. They're problems of our own making and our own fixing, whatever we might disagree on which problems there are. And I'd still rather live in a country where you have that, where it's the ballot box and not the barrel of a gun. And I think only because we've had so long of safety and security can we even ask that question. I actually think, in a way, the idea that lots of young people don't think about fighting for the country, isn't that the goal, that they live in such comfort that they don't feel that threat? But I'd also say this hatred of young people is so unfair and so unreasonable, because, you've got a generation that can't get a house, can't get good pay, is coming up to their third recession in my adult lifetime, and I'm 33. They've not been dealt a good hand, and so maybe give younger people a better deal, and they might feel more passionately about the country.
The audience tonight whose relatives got through a war and lived in the aftermath of a war. Young people today don't have anything like that to combat.
But it's not good enough to just keep shouting at them as ungrateful.
Mean that if they don't have a house, it doesn't mean that they're living in penury. It just, they don't have a house. There are people who have lived in much tougher generations than this one.
But just constantly attacking young people as though they hate the country. I'd rather live in a country where we can throw soup on paintings than where we, have things decided by martial law.
I don't think people are just insulting young people, and some of the points you say are valid. I do think that love of country is a pretty natural thing, love of community. And I think it is sad that we've got into a state that our elites, from the BBC to academia to most left-wing political parties, seem to think that actually the knee-jerk, the standard reaction is that you should be ashamed of Britain, ashamed of empire.
But I don't think that's true.
You see, it is actually. I don't think it really is true.
If you could, in the nicest possible way, if you could resurrect a lot of people who fought and died for Britain during World War II, and you showed them where Britain was at today, I just wonder how they'd feel about it. I just wonder whether or not they'd say, oh, this is worth it. Right.
Sorry, can I just come back to that? Because
I want to know this lady on the front row.
I was just going to say, the fact that we live longer and are healthier and are safer than ever before is something that only because we have that comfort can we not appreciate it.
Fine, that is an angle to it. Now, firstly, lovely jacket. Where have you come from?
I've come from Manchester.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that I think that people have fought in vain, sadly, because I think what we've got today is a dictator, and he's taking our freedom away. Talking about the ballot box, Benjamin, we've even had our freedom of actually voting taken away from us, where I am. We're now being told we can't go into the pub and have banter because if there's any snowflakes around, we'll be in trouble. We've got that lady who's in prison for, the mistake. I just think that we've got a dictator back in our hands.
OK, right. Well, there we go. OK, I'll get you to come back to that. I take it you don't think that Keir Starmer is literally a dictator?
No, we had an election 10 months ago, and I think it's I think it's insulting to people that live under dictators to try and say having a government you don't like means it's like a dictatorship. Because I'll tell you what, we had an election last week and people made their voice pretty loud.
Free speech anymore.
Of course we do.
Keir Starmer won't allow it. He puts young mothers in prison for a year and a half, and there was an illegal immigrant got off last week for battering 2 policewomen because, you know what, the excuse was his brain wasn't developed enough. He was 21 years old, for God's sake. So when you see that kind of two-tier justice...
He got I take your point, exactly. He got a suspended prison sentence.
Yeah, that's getting off.
He didn't go to prison. Yeah, I get what you mean.
That's getting off.
I get what you mean. I hear you. Right, there's a gentleman here now, again, with the medals. Just very quickly reminder, because people might have only tuned in for the second half of this show, so just remind us where these medals are from, please.
The medals are the General Service Medal of Northern Ireland, First Gulf War, Bosnia, and long service and, hard to believe, good conduct.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, sir... well done again. I'm going to ask you the same thing then. This section is about whether or not this country, was worth fighting for. We see the modern side of it today. Go on.
I'm a second-generation soldier. I served 30 years, joined on Tuesday, 15th September 1970, about 2:30, and served 30 years. And I'm pleased to say that I meet up with many of my contemporaries now. Every year, we meet up, 55 years later from that date. We spend the first night swapping medications to work out what it is we're taking and what's broken. But it's always a good gig. And what I want people to hold on to is there is a lot to be learned from the camaraderie that comes with serving in the military. Yes. It cannot be overstated. It simply can't. We meet, as I say, 55 years later. We were 15-year-old boys. We're now 70-year-old men. We enjoy getting back together, and I just wish we could explain to the young people of today that that is what comes out of working with a group of men, women, and just enjoying the lifestyle.
What a lovely point that is. Well done.
Just 2 points on that. I love this camaraderie. I mean, I did my sort of full-time service for 10 years, and almost every day I got the mickey taken out of me. And it's a sign of affection. I was Crazy Bob. And I loved it. I miss being...
we want to know why.
And secondly, people go on, and sometimes rightly, about the mental health issues, and yes, combat stress, it is a thing. PTSD is a thing. Suicide rates after war peak at about 7 years. So it is a thing, and I'm not knocking it. But for most people, the military and, you know, in the Navy, Army, Air Force, actually you get great qualifications, you get great camaraderie, you get really good times, and actually it's very psychologically healthy. I mean, I know that people don't want to necessarily say this, but when I was serving in Iraq and we were going out on patrol, occasionally getting shot at, you have, you know, common purpose, you have one can of beer on the Friday night and all that sort of thing, and you have this shared sense of purpose, and it is very healthy for you in many ways.
Now, right, very quickly, because I'm going to go to give away. I need to tease what's coming up, but there's a lady on the front row here who's got a fantastic outfit on, and the reason I want to come to you is because we've got loads of people waiting in the green room, because about 60, 70 people wanting to turn up tonight, and we're about to do an audience switch. So I don't know if you're going to end up still being in here, but afterwards, I hope you are. But I just wanted to ask you, I just wanted to give you the chance where you had it, just to basically applaud your outfit for the evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. So, where have you come from tonight, then? Where have you come
London. I'm London.
London. And talk to me through this outfit, then. What we're looking at here?
Well, you're looking
amazing.
At a V-Day. Well, I don't know what I can say, really.
V-Day spectacular, isn't it? There we go.
Love the boots.
All right. I'm going to ask you to be very good. Have you got a little point on what we were talking about whether Britain was worth fighting for or anything like that? Do you think that you'd like to make?
Of course it is. It's our country. I was born and bred here, regardless of the colour of my skin. I'm proud to be British, and I think everyone who lives in this country or was born here, and all these veterans here, I applaud. I really, really, really admire what you've done, and you know, it's just it's made me feel very emotional, but it means a lot to me. And I'm sure it should mean a lot to everyone in this room.
Absolutely.
And everywhere else.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Amazing. I just was desperate to get you on the telly. That's all you there is still put you on the spot there. Sorry. There's still plenty of time for you to grab your chance to win the biggest ever prize today. So, of course, this is how you can win a motorhome worth £67,000, as well as £5,000 in tax-free cash. Here is the Great British Giveaway.
Don't miss out on a prize package worth over £72,000, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. You could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. Plus, a further £5,000 in tax-free cash will make sure your next adventure makes memories to last a lifetime. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, well, still loads on this evening, including this.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
Well, that was absolutely disgraceful. That's a Labour minister letting the cat out of the bag when it comes to her party's attitude towards the Pakistani rape gang scandal. So, shouldn't she resign now over this issue? My panel are going to have their say. The audience are definitely going to have their say. But anyway, in other news, the Royals, they were out in force today, weren't they?
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, joining us now is the Chief Scout at the Scouting Association, Dwayne Fields. Dwayne, welcome to the programme. Thank you for joining us. You must be delighted at the partnership with the Princess of Wales, and the video is you were in that creation.
Yeah, so good morning, first of all. Yes, I'm absolutely delighted with it. The Princess of Wales has been one of our joint presidents for some time now, and hopefully that will continue. There's no reason to think it won't. And I am delighted. Her platform allows for her to really basically become a megaphone for all the great things we do in Scouting. And there's no denying it. Every single week, we've got 500,000 young people and adult volunteers meeting, and they are learning, building friendships, learning those really important skills for life, having fun, like I said, making friendships. And they're doing all of this voluntarily. And just like I am, so is the Princess of Wales. What you've mentioned there, you know, the being at one with nature, being at peace in nature, I think it's really important for young people to spend time outdoors. We recognize from all the reports, and you yourself have even spoken about it, mental health issues that we have in society nowadays. Now, this isn't the silver bullet, but I think it is part of the solution. The more young people we can get to spend time in our natural spaces, I think the better we'll be, generally speaking, when we're talking about well-being. Now, in regards to what young people do in our scout groups, it could range from cooking to map reading to model making. Whatever skills the volunteer brings are the skills that we utilise in our groups.
I just don't think I would suit the shorts at my age, but that's it. But there's Dwayne.
You look great in the necker.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back, everybody. In what is a competitive field, I must say, I think this might be my favourite ever show here on GB News. So thank you very much, everybody, for making the effort to come here for a very special VE Day show. Now, well, some of the topics, other than, of course, VE Day that we're doing, this grooming gang scandal has been absolutely insane, hasn't it? And some of the victims have reacted with utter fury after a Labour minister referred to the grooming gang scandal as, quote, dog whistle politics. Lucy Powell was forced to apologise after making these remarks during a debate about a Channel 4 grooming gang documentary. Here they are.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, OK.
There was a real issue
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
I mean, absolutely shocking, isn't it? But there's a lady on the front row here who would like to make a point, so go on, what would I like to say?
Good evening.
Good evening.
As grooming gang survivors slammed the Labour Cabinet Minister Lucy Powell after she called a scandal a dog whistle issue, should she be sacked over the comments, and has she revealed what Labour thinks about the scandal?
Now, that I think the second point especially is very important, because I think a lot of people are thinking, when you couple that with Starmer's comments about jumping on a far-right bandwagon, and we've had a couple of other MPs come out and try to minimise it, and then now you've had her, it does, I don't know, does it make you wonder whether or not Labour take this seriously, do you think?
No, I don't think they're taking it seriously. Not at all.
Why not?
Because I think they should do the investigation on it.
Exactly.
No, but why don't you think Labour are taking it seriously? What's their reason?
I've no idea.
Too much.
Well, I think we all know the reason, don't we?
Yeah.
Well,
we know the reason. It's because they're protecting their Muslim vote in various towns and cities in this country. But you know, Lucy Powell's statement. People are saying now she's got all her colleagues out defending her and saying it was a mistake. She said it's a mistake. It was a misspeak. No, it was not a mistake. It was a true expression of how this government feels about that scandal. We know that. She just reflected the government's indifference to the Pakistani rape gang scandal, and she's. When she said that the other night, people should listen to the way she said it again. I've listened to it now about 6 times, and every time I listen to it, I get more angry because it's dripping with sarcasm and sneering. How dare she dismiss the suffering of these young women as dog whistle? I mean, how damn well dare she? She's, this government has been running around this scandal now. They see it now as a pesky inconvenience. They do not want to have the national inquiry. They have also put the kibosh on the local inquiries because simply they want to protect the Muslim vote and not upset them. And they're prepared to sacrifice thousands of working-class young girls on
I think
on
it's
that
a class
basis.
issue. That's one of the things I do think. I think it's a class issue, this. I think if we were seeing girls who were middle class, or they'd all been to St Paul's or wherever some of the posh girls' schools are, that this would happen to, I don't think this would be getting swept into the carpet.
Yeah, but hold on. If these are white people doing it to Muslim girls, if we had imported lots of hillbillies from Alabama and they were raping Muslim girls because they thought Christianity allowed them, I mean, if that happened once, there'd be 50 panorama programmes on it.
Yes, exactly.
For me, you can criticise the last government for not doing enough. It did some things, but the way that Labour say, well, the last government didn't do anything, so we're not going to do anything. That's a pathetic non-excuse. The Labour Party are desperate to run away from this, because if the truth scandal comes out, it's probably the end of the Labour Party, because the reality is that there may have been other political parties involved as well, maybe the Lib Dems, maybe the occasional Tory, but effectively Labour councillors systematically and Labour MPs systematically covered this up, and they put pressure on the police. They will blame the police, but they put the pressure on the police because the police react to political leadership. They put pressure on the police and the social workers and councillors to look the other way.
Benjamin, are they part of the cover-up?
Well, I think what Lucy Powell said was completely wrong. It was completely misjudged. I dare say she was probably feeling wound up by the fact that some people try and use this to antagonise rather than thinking about the actual issues. And
I don't agree at all.
But they do, of course they do. Those people that went out and rioted were a complete disgrace.
By asking them to take seriously
this is right.
No, she was wrong in this. But, sorry, let me just finish my. No, hang on, I'm answering Bob.
You can't. You can't, because people aren't using it politically. This is a fact.
Some people are.
This was a terrible thing. She said after this happened that she takes the business of child exploitation seriously. That's a lie, because she was asked about child exploitation the other night and she completely poo-pooed it and sneered at it.
Let's let Benjamin...
Well, I was just going to point out that Sarah Champion, the Labour MP for Rotherham, has been working on this long before anyone from Reform or Rupert Lowe or any of those people started tweeting about it. And that's a Labour MP from one of the areas that was worst affected that has been calling it out for years.
Was she the one who was sacked from her job for raising the issue?
Under Jeremy Corbyn, yeah.
Yes.
And
she was sacked by the Labour hierarchy for raising the issue.
A very different Labour Party.
We wonder why Labour MPs don't talk about it.
Can I just get a feel for the room by way of noise? Who here thinks that we should have a full, unfiltered national grooming gang inquiry? I think that's fair to say there's an overwhelming majority of people in this room anyway that would want that. I'm just going to introduce now former Labour MP down the line, Lloyd Russell Moyle. Lloyd, I'm assuming that you were able to hear some of that. Thank you for joining us, by the way. I do appreciate it. So, look, I mean, the Lucy Powell stuff, people are saying basically she's got to go, and if she doesn't go, that's because the Labour Party agrees with, I'm just paraphrasing what I'm hearing on Twitter now, her disgusting views.
I think she has apologised, hasn't she? So she agrees that they were totally wrong thing to say. And I think she was trying to express a view that these things shouldn't get caught up in a political argy-bargy, but she said it in the most revolting way. And what's quite right for politicians is when they get it wrong to apologise. If there is no reprieve for apologies, then politicians will just dig down and never apologise. And that's not the kind of world I want to live in. But let's be very clear: the Conservatives did do nothing. Labour
can I just point out, are you absolutely certain that she's apologised?
Labour has introduced a number of laws to start to move this forward, including giving money to local inquiries. And Keir Starmer has not ruled out a national inquiry, which I think we're stepping towards needing to have.
Lloyd, I'm not sure. Are you absolutely certain that she's apologised, Lloyd?
She said that she shouldn't have said those things. That's my understanding. My understanding is that she's distraught, and she says that was the wrong thing for her to say. Now, that to me is an apology.
OK, and Lloyd, you don't think that sometimes, you know, it's all very well and good, we can say sorry for certain things in life, but sometimes there's no coming back from certain things, is there? And I think letting the cat out of the bag there about the idea that maybe the grooming gang issue for a lot of people in the Labour Party is a dog whistle. It would echo some of the things that Keir Starmer said, didn't he, when he made the thing about jumping on a far-right bandwagon. It does appear to be quite difficult to get people in the Labour Party to care about young working-class white girls, Lloyd.
There is a class issue. You have quite rightly pointed this out about the abuse. It was predominantly Pakistani men, but there were white gangs and other black gangs involved in this that have been convicted up and down the country. But there was a real problem. It was predominantly white working-class girls. And we do need to look at how we have failed that group of people across the country. You need local inquiries. You need criminalisation of anyone that helps cover this up, which is what Labour is bringing in, to mean that if there is any inquiry, you have a duty of candour. It doesn't matter whether it's a statutory inquiry or a local inquiry, and we start to bring light to this murky world. And that charge was started quite rightly, as was mentioned before, by Labour MP Sarah Champion, and Labour has been the one that has often been doggedly moving this forwards too slowly. I agree with you, and I agree with probably your audience. We need a national inquiry now. But it is wrong to say that Labour has been the one covering us up. We had 14, 15 years of Conservatives, and they did sweet nothing.
All right, Lloyd. Well, look, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to always have you on anyway. Lloyd Russell-Moyle there. Thank you very, very much for giving up a little bit of his VE Day evening to come here. We haven't got the time to dissect everything that he's had to say there, but I think you can gauge that there are strong views in this studio. But the reason why I want to move us on is because I know there's going to be strong views about this as well. Now, you might have missed this in all the noise that erupted over the local elections, and then, of course, the wonderful day we've had commemorating VE Day today. But this is massive, because I think this is about Britain's future. A pro-Gaza candidate has been elected to Lancashire Council, despite campaigning for segregation of men and women. Kind of Sharia style, really. So is this really integration? What's going on there? That's what I want to get stuck into, because I think we're going to see more of that. And, well, look, should we just remind ourselves that Prince Louis is obviously a national treasure?
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Despite some dry and sunny weather across parts of the UK, it's a different story across parts of Europe, with heavy showers and thunderstorms for many of us, particularly across parts of Spain, southern parts of France and parts of Italy too, seeing some heavy thunderstorms throughout Tuesday afternoon. Southern parts of Greece and Turkey probably holding on to the best of the sunshine through Tuesday afternoon. Highs here around 26 degrees, but there will be some sunshine on offer for many of us over the next couple of days, and highs in Tenerife around 24 or 25 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the weather's not going to be changing drastically through the next few days. It's going to stay dry for most of us. It will gradually turn warmer towards the end of the week, but there'll still be a bit of a breeze in the south. So we've got this large area of high pressure dominating the UK at the moment. Any showers that we saw through Monday clearing away as we go through this evening. And I think, generally speaking, it's going to be a dry night across the vast majority of the UK. That cloud melting away to leave Generally clear skies for many places overnight tonight. Just a chance the odd spot of rain perhaps across the far northeast of Scotland and the odd shower in eastern counties of England. Under those clear skies, temperatures really falling away, so a widespread frost in the countryside, though most towns and cities staying just above freezing. Tuesday then begins on a fairly sunny note for the vast majority of the UK, but down across the southeast of England a bit more in the way of cloud once again, although not as cloudy as it was on Monday. Still 1 or 2 showers perhaps on the east coast of England, but generally speaking most of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland starting the day on a bright and sunny note, and any mist and fog quickly clearing by mid-morning. A bit more in the way of cloud though still across the far north east and northwest of Scotland, just bringing the odd spit and spot of rain to a few places. Through the day then we might just see 1 or 2 showers just clipping into parts of East Anglia and Lincolnshire, but not as many as there were on Monday, and many places staying dry. The best of the sunshine out towards Wales, Western England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and here we'll see the highest temperatures too, so 17s and 18s a bit more widespread on Tuesday and feeling quite warm in the light winds, still quite breezy in the east. For Wednesday, perhaps a slightly cloudier day, but generally dry for most of us. A lot of sunshine as well, breaking through that cloud, but some high-level clouds, so maybe a little bit hazier than it has been of late. And temperatures once again, well, into the mid to high teens for many of us. And whilst it will be quite cloudy to end the week, there will be some warm sunshine at times, and temperatures may well reach 20 degrees by Friday.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to an absolutely wonderful live studio audience show. So great to have so many people here. Thank you for coming. This is a VE Day special, but we're talking a lot about the future of Britain. It's great to talk about it with people who've got a military history, a military background, got a bit of skin in the game, really, when it comes to Britain's past and future. And a pro-Gaza candidate has won a council seat in Lancashire, despite campaigning in favour of segregation between the two sexes. So some would call that a bit of Sharia, really. In an interview during the local election campaign, 18-year-old Maheen Kamran said that she wanted to encourage public spaces to prevent free mixing between Muslim men and women. So she said Muslim women aren't really comfortable with being involved with Muslim men. I'm sure that we can have segregated areas, segregated gyms where Muslim women don't have to sacrifice their health. OK, I mean, look, we saw a bit of this at the last general election. We've seen a bit more of it now at the local elections. I imagine we're going to see a lot more of this in the years to come. Is there anybody who would like to make a point on this in the audience? Anyone got a microphone with them? Is that... Yes? God, good to see you again.
Yes.
What would your point be on this?
I'm absolutely perplexed and flabbergasted that such a thing can be happening within our democracy in the UK. It can never be allowed here. Even though I don't have the authority to say that.
Well, you do. But you're a person like anybody else. You know, you've got the same stake in this country as anybody else, and I think you have a right to feel however you want to feel.
I just think it'll be the beginning of the end for us if we start imposing these kind of laws or Sharia laws or whatever into our system, our democracy. It's wrong.
You think we need to push back on this now before it becomes an even bigger problem?
Yes, 100%.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Seems to be a common view, I think, from what I can gather. Well, thank you for your point. It's a tremendous point. Yeah, Bob, what do we do about this? Because it's going to get worse, mate. It's going to get worse.
I quite agree. A couple of points. Firstly, it's interesting, if you look at countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, especially Saudi Arabia, they are now moving away from conservative interpretations of Islam. And it's now the most sort of virulent, the most jihadi political Islamicist versions of Islam or interpretations of Islam you're now getting in the West, and not so much in the Arab or Islamic world, with the potential exception of Afghanistan. The other thing I'd say, talking about this with my wife, who comes from a Sunni Muslim background, but she was talking about Karl Popper, and we were having a discussion about it, and she was reminding me that Karl Popper said, and he was this great British philosopher, that you have to defend tolerance, and that means at a certain level you have got to start being intolerant of intolerant people, otherwise you will destroy your tolerance and you will destroy your community. And by not being intolerant of bigotry, we are going down a very dark path. I haven't explained it very well.
I get what you meant. I think most people got
You've got to defend tolerance against people who are intolerant, and we have not done enough of that.
But Benjamin, we have an 18-year-old medical student here who was managed to win an award based on, unashamedly, no free mixing amongst the sexes. Is that not really a wake-up call to where we are in modern Britain?
Yeah, I mean, look, what she says isn't going to be implemented. There was only a couple of these candidates that got elected, so let's be grateful for that. But Bob is absolutely right. I've been to every country in the Middle East, and people say, well, as a gay man, isn't that dangerous? And I say, well, the young people I meet in Syria and Saudi Arabia are often far less radical than the people I could come across in Tower Hamlets, and that's no exaggeration. And how did we let that happen? And Bob's also right on the tolerance point, because I think they're using the Gaza-Israel issue as a way in to get these more extreme ideas to be mainstreamed, to persuade some naive people to go along with them so they get over the line in council elections like that. And we should be afraid of that. And as someone on the left, I get criticised for being so pro-Israel, but they call me the wokest man in Britain, and I say, well, the point of that is that I'm a liberal. I like that people can be different and diverse and be themselves, and you don't get any of that if you let this kind of Islamic extremism get in. And the other thing to say is that there's nothing Islamophobic about that, because if you're a gay guy growing up in a Muslim family, then imagine what a hell of a time you're having. Those Muslim people aren't getting a good life, and we should stand up for tolerance and not let these people take over it.
Carol, your views on what we've seen in the fact that a tiny bit of Lancashire now appears to have been welcoming in the Sharia.
Do you know, we live in a Christian country where men and women are seen as equals, and the rights and equalities women have been hard fought for. And it makes me sick to my stomach that someone is talking about segregating sexes in this country. First of all, it is illegal. It is illegal if it's based on race, religion or ethnicity. And this woman has won her seat based on an illegality. It cannot be done in this country. But the creeping Islamisation of this country is happening in front of our eyes. We must not tolerate it. We cannot tolerate men and women being segregated. And I'd really like to know how this woman thinks she's speaking for all Muslim women in her area. I'm sure she's...
Well, I think there's a few very worrying things for me about this, and it's the fact that, OK, it's a ward in Lancashire. This is not a constituency, but it's the fact that she did manage to get the vote. I have concerns about when you introduce serious hardcore religion into the vote, because, if someone here wanted to stand for the Lib Dems or for Reform or for Labour or for the Tories, you'd have to go and knock on someone's door and pitch your manifesto. But for certain people in this country, if you are, quite a devout Muslim, for example, you might just say, well, actually, Allah might not be happy with you if you don't vote for me. And I think that's a massive, massive concern that can have an influence on people.
Do we not think this young girl's been manipulated? I do. I don't believe an 18-year-old girl who has lived the kind of sheltered life that she has led would actually have these independent thoughts and go out and do that.
She might genuinely believe this. I've never met this girl, right? And I would like to. I'd like to have a discussion with her. I'd like to go to that patch and maybe do a show from there. But I think it should be a concern that she managed to win an election and win it fairly.
She actually said that she wants segregated areas like gyms and parks and whatever because women don't want to sacrifice their health. I'd really like to know what she means by that, that just by being in a room with a man, it's bad for a Muslim woman's health. I mean, that's tough.
I also think that quote that we brought there, and we are sorry about this because we could talk about this all night, really, but we're going to have to move on from it shortly. But she did bring a quote here that said this here: Muslim women aren't really comfortable being involved with Muslim men.
Is she?
Well, why not?
Yeah.
What is that?
Funny that.
You know, I don't know. I found that odd. Maybe I'm taking that out of context. I'm not sure. I found that bizarre.
I think it just shows up one other problem as well, that you've got a sort of clan dynamic. Look, this is not common to Islam per se. You've got Saudis in this country, UEA people, Egyptians, they have a very different form of Islam. But this ultra-conservative form of Islam comes from the more backward and rural areas, very often of Pakistan.
Okay.
So this is a cultural dynamic as much as it is as a religious dynamic. And a lot of Muslims would say, actually, this has got absolutely nothing to do with me. And you should, I've been told by Muslim friends, you should absolutely be hammering this in this country because we have it in our country and we hate it and we try to stamp it out for the reasons.
But Bob, we have Sharia courts operating in this country, and who's actually
informally?
Sharia,
yeah, we should.
But Sharia courts which actually take away the rights of women. Right. Women can be chucked on the street thanks to a Sharia court, and we're doing nothing to stop it.
Yep. All right. Well, there we go. Well, look, hey, I thought that we would bring that up, especially. I do think there is a relevance here, given it's the 80th commemoration of VE Day. Really, when you do look around that and you think, well, hang on a minute, how have we ended up there? But anyway, coming up, it is the moment that we've all been waiting for. You're going to have a special VE Day version of Greatest Britain and Union Jackass, and my wonderful audience are going to be able to vote on this in just a few moments' time, so I'll see you in a tick. All right.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The great thing is that this is going to be the perfect summer to stay in the UK. A couple of reasons for that. The first one is, well, yeah, you can't do much about the weather, but what you can do is save an absolute fortune. I've been looking at, for instance, all the tourist attractions around Europe. The prices are going through the roof. You want to go and see some beautiful pictures in the Prado in Madrid, that's going to cost you over 30 quid. And yet, here in the UK, all our big cultural attractions are free. And furthermore, you will be doing the country a favour because the best thing you can possibly do is spend money here, create jobs, pay taxes, and make things just a little bit better than they are now.
So, Joe, does that convince you to take a staycation this year?
Well, my staycation will be here in Tenerife, for sure. I want the guaranteed sunshine, and I want the cleaner air. And the cheap places to eat. I mean, Simon was talking about the costs, but in Tenerife, you go into the mountains and the hillside areas, you can still get a 3-course meal for under 20 euros, very good quality. There's arguments, obviously, for both sides, but I think for most people, it's just that guaranteed dose of sunshine that people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to get away from that, Simon, isn't it? That we do want the weather.
Yeah, but we just got to recalibrate, honestly. And tell you what, there's going to be an awful lot of people who are going to be travelling to Tenerife, other places, particularly around the Mediterranean, this coming Easter, because they've literally been scorched over the past couple of years in July and in particular August. Very, very high temperatures. Brits have had enough of too much sunshine.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, and we're going to round off the show with Greatest Britain, Union Jackass. I believe that this is a VA Day special of this version, so here we go. We'll start with Benjamin Butterworth. Who is your Greatest Britain, please?
So we've been talking today about people that the last survivors of World War II that served, but there's still a woman alive who's from the parents' generation of those people, and that's Ethel Caterham, who is 115 and 260 days old.
With her?
It is.
She just became the oldest person in the world. She's the longest living Briton in history, and she's the one and only Edwardian left on Earth, because she was born in 1909.
It's a good start.
And I was so blessed because she's very private, and she only gave one interview, and she sat down with me for the afternoon, so she was pretty amazing.
Oh, well done. What a start that is. What a start that is.
You probably sent her off to sleep, Benjamin.
Oh, meow.
Okay, so my greatest, it's not greatest British, greatest Brits, since every single soldier who has fought in conflicts in the last 100 years, they're all heroes. They are this country's national pride. But especially this week, we celebrate the D-Day, our VE Day heroes, who we may not be here without.
Well, yes, we won't be here without it. Yes. Yeah. OK, go on, Bob.
OK, I'm going to build on that because mine is for all VE veterans, so all the veterans from World War II.
It's getting a bit nitty. There's some crossover here in the
But I'm just going to do it for my granddad, who was one of those people who didn't come back because he died on the 6th of June 1942. And that the morning of his death, he led the South Notts Hussars, which is his regiment. They were all killed off in Gallipoli, and then they were all killed off in World War II. On the morning of his death, he was given the order, you're to fight to the last man and the last round, and they did, and they covered the retreat of the 8th Army at the Battle of Gazala, which allowed them to reform for El Alamein, but his regiment, the South Notts Hussars, was destroyed, and he died at 4 o'clock that afternoon.
Well, gosh, I mean, I don't know how we're going to choose these. Can I just say, and by the way, this isn't going to win in light of what we've just had. However, I did spend this morning in Melton, well, and this afternoon, actually, in Melton Mowbray. I think for a bit of context, we can play you a little clip of the day. We've got some award-winning pork pies and a very special one for today, VE Day 2025. Right, thank you very much to Ye Olde Pork Pie Shop that's been around since 1851 in Melton Mowbray. They sent very kindly a little bit of a hamper bag for us, and I'm just going to give one of their award-winning pork pies and a cake to the person that I think has come the furthest. I'm very quickly going to do this. I think it's you, sir. You've come all the way from Wales. Is that right? There you go. There you are. Have a bit of that. And what was your name again?
It's Raymond Morgan.
Raymond Morgan, there we go. And well done, everybody, yes. And, is it your son, Dan?
Yes, Daniel, voice of Wales.
There we are. Exactly. Well, I like Dan. I happen to know him. I believe it was a bit of a surprise for you coming this evening. You didn't realise, so I hope you had a good time anyway. And you've left with a pork pie and some cake. So there you go. I suppose that's something, isn't it? All right. OK. Greatest Britain winners. We've got the oldest person in Britain.
In the world.
In the world. Anyone in the world? Anyone? Yes. No. Yeah. No. OK. No. And then we're going to go. And then we're going to go. Everyone who's ever fought for Britain from Carol. Bob's granddad. What do we think? There we go. All right. Well done. All right. They would all have been worthy winners. We're going to have to rattle through this. Rattle through it. Union Jackass.
Donald Trump, because he's put this 100% tariff on foreign-made films and said they're a threat. And that's the stuff of dictators.
Carol.
All those bozos in health and safety in the MOD whose idiocy is making our military a joke. These are people who shouldn't be let anywhere near people who are prepared to fight and die for this country.
All right. All right. Bob.
Leadership is about turning up, and Keir Starmer did not even turn up in Runcorn, and he lost it by 6 votes. More fool him.
Right. Well, Union Jackass. Union Jackass then. Keir Starmer, do we think? Union Jackass, yeah. We've got the bozos in the MOD, I think, was that? Yeah.
The health and safety ones who are making our military a joke.
And Donald Trump, anyone? Donald Trump, Union Jackass, no.
Sure.
I think Bob's done the clean sweep here, actually, hasn't he? So there we go. Well done, Bob. We've only got a couple of seconds So thanks to our wonderful panel. Thanks to everyone who's been watching and listening at home, but most importantly, thank you to every single person who's turned up tonight to be in this audience, and thank you for all of your tremendous service, for every single one of you who's come with your medals on and done everything. It really is an absolute honour. It's been an honour to spend the evening with you. So thank you, and thank you to everyone in Melton Mowbray. Thank you to everyone around the country. Thank you to everyone at GB News who's helped to really make this day special. I hope that you, if you've been watching and listening to it, have felt seen and felt heard and felt as though, we really are very proud of this great country and everyone who fought and was willing to die in order so that we could have the freedoms that we have today. So I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. See you then. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the weather's not going to be changing drastically through the next few days. It's going to stay dry for most of us. It will gradually turn warmer towards the end of the week, but there'll still be a bit of a breeze in the south. So we've got this large area of high pressure dominating the UK at the moment. Any showers that we saw through Monday clearing away as we go through this evening. And I think, generally speaking, it's going to be a dry night across the vast majority of the UK. That cloud melting away to leave generally clear skies for many places overnight tonight. Just a chance the odd spot of rain perhaps across the far northeast of Scotland and the odd shower in eastern counties of England. Under those clear skies, temperatures really falling away, so a widespread frost in the countryside, though most towns and cities staying just above freezing. Tuesday then begins on a fairly sunny note for the vast majority of the UK, but down across the southeast of England a bit more in the way of cloud once again, although not as cloudy as it was on Monday. Still one or two showers perhaps on the east coast of England, but generally speaking most of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland and much of Scotland starting the day on a bright and sunny note, and any mist and fog quickly clearing by mid-morning. A bit more in the way of cloud though still across the far north, east and northwest of Scotland, just